Hi, I'm Kelly at Book and Paper Arts, and today I'm going to show how to make a book using a Slipknot binding. I am trying to show one new binding or book structure here on YouTube every month, and this one has finally come up in the pipeline. I really enjoy this Slipknot binding because in spite of the fact that it looks fiddly, it's actually pretty simple. You do not need to sew. There is no sewing involved in this bookbinding. It's you poke holes in your boards and you're basically making like little macrame like knots. And then when it's finished, your book lies flat. So it's just a very pretty, messy, fun binding, and we're going to learn how to do it today. I'm going to start out by showing you what you need, then I'm going to demonstrate the binding, and finally I'm going to do a flip through of the book. If you like journal arts, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and please be sure and turn on the notifications. And that way you will have more of them in your life. Let's go make a book. Here's what you're going to need. Some cards. Now, you can try paper, but as a rule, paper is just not robust enough. When you tie your knots, if the paper is too thin, it's just going to tear those holes that you punch right out. So let's start with cards. Now, I'm using single cards or single sheets. I've heard that you can use folded folios. I haven't tried it yet. So use cardstock, maybe heavy watercolor paper, or sketchbook pad. That's a nice weight. And especially if you glue these together, then you're going to definitely have a card weight. I've seen this done with altered playing cards. So be resourceful. I made my cards out of, you know what, this is a box for some mushrooms that I bought at the supermarket. And a year ago, I would have just recycled this. But now I looked at it with new eyes and I went, whoa, free art supplies. So I made a card here, and I just cut a bunch of these boxes up, and hey presto, we're good to go. So be resourceful. You're going to need some kind of something to tie your knots with. Now I'm using this medium weight twine. It's some that I got at a flea market. It's linen, but you could always just use twine that you get at the garden store or craft store. I bought this one at a craft fair, and I'm looking forward to using that. But also, you could just use yarn or any kind of strong thread that you have, maybe doubled up. And you're going to need something to put holes in your cards. You can use a plain old hole punch that you get from the office supply store or the craft store. I'm using a crocodile because I have one. It's just a fancy hole punch. It's got two sizes, and they're a little pricey, but I got mine secondhand on eBay, and I use it a lot. So something to make holes, and we're good to go. For my holes, I'm using 3. You could do 2 or as many as you like. I've gone 1 inch down on either side, 1 inch, 1 inch, and in the center. And then I brought it in a good centimeter or 3/8 of an inch. You don't want it too close to the edge because, again, the knots will pull the holes right out. Other than that, it's just what you like, what looks good to you. So I've punched these in now. That's my cover. And I'm going to center my first card. And then just doing it to the eye. And then I'm going to punch the holes through the holes that are already here. Ta-da. And I'm going to go through card by card, doing the same thing, just punching through the original holes until they're all ready to go. Now I have holes in all of my cards, and it's time to assemble. You need a separate piece of string or twine for each hole. So 1 separate string, 2 separate strings, 3 separate strings. How long? Really long. I'm guessing on this one, I'm doing about 1 inch or 3 centimeters per card. I have 15 cards, so that's 45 centimeters or 15 inches, and then I added about another 5 inches because I'm prudent. So just start out with a lot. Now, I've already done this one. What you want to do is work back to front. This is my front cover. This is my back cover. So I'm starting with the back cover, and I've doubled up my string, okay? And that means I've got a little loop on this end. Put the loop in from the top to the bottom, then pull your threads through that loop and tighten. And that's it. This is the back of the cover. This is the inside back of the cover. String, loop, go from the inside up on top to the bottom, pull those through. Make sure they're snug. Don't pull them too tight, or you can see now why you need some robust paper or card, because if you pull too tight, that would pull right out. But just make sure they're snug. Now, this is going to be my next to the last page. I just turned that around to sort out my orientation. Okay, so the next card goes like this. So hole, hole, hole. And again, now I've got my thread, and it's going to go in through the top and then when it gets down here, feed it through the loop and pull that snug. That's your slip knot. So hole number 2, in through the top, down in between, doop, 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 doop. We have a loop, and pull it through the loop. Got your ends. Go in from the top, pull, open up the threads, there's a loop, and pull. Just go back and tighten those a bit, make sure they're snug. And that's it. You just want to do it for the whole stack of cards. Let's do that one more time in slow time. Taking the card and lighting up my holes. Yep, holes. Yep. Dot, dot, dot. I have my thread, my string. Oops, go up through the top. Just thread that through, pull it through, and then when you get to the end, open up these two, pull on through, and just make a knot, a slip knot. Go up through the top. Between the two boards. Pull it through, and then at the end you've got the loop. Put it through. Now everything is stitched together, and I have come to the end, which is putting on the front cover to the stack of boards. You can see I've already got the knots here, but I've left them a little bit loose because to finish up the cover, you want to take your two ends. Now, this one goes this way and this one goes that way. Blah, that's it. I don't know how to explain it in a classy way. So just feed that one this way up, and the bottom one between the two pages, between the two boards. And then it's a little fiddly, but just make sure one at a time that you pull your threads nice and snug. And then make a knot. Do the same thing here. I'm leaving it a little bit loose. Bottom string goes through the boards, around the knot, and up. The bottom string goes through the boards, around the knot, and bottom. And then pull that nice and snug. Tighten that up a little bit more. And then the last one, I've pulled this, I'm leaving a little bit loose. String on the top, string on the bottom. String on the bottom goes into the boards, over the knot, and out. This string goes into the boards, around the knot, and to the bottom. And then carefully and patiently feed that and tighten it all up. And then make a knot. So on that last step where you are tying off the knots on the cover, just be patient. Keep feeding the threads. Don't yank them. Just keep feeding them patiently. Make sure they're snug. And then just make sure you've got that extra. I'm going to add another knot. 2 knots on the outside. And here we go. This is the finished spine. And you can see how it's just these slip knots. Here, a lot of people like to leave these as if you like adding charms and ornaments and whatnot. I'm not the dangly type, so I'm going to be trimming these. But you can definitely leave them and add embellishments and charms and stuff. That's better. I am going to leave a little bit of a tail here. Because of the twine, the knots want to loosen up a little bit, and this way I can just go back and tighten those up as needed. For the flip through, I started off and I made the covers out of, this is heavy watercolor paper. It's all cotton rag. And I've dyed it with onion skins and tea and rust. And he's from a vintage textbook about birds over some handwritten pieces. Those are some jaunty hats. This is, I've been working with some textures. This is a Venetian plaster and stencils. You can see how this lies flat, which is another really good thing about this binding. This was from a card, a box of vintage playing cards, French cards. And I just thought that the cover itself was as beautiful as the cards. This is more experimenting with the Venetian plaster. And I am going to be doing a video. I'm going to be, as I discover more, I'm just starting to get friendly with this stuff. But as I learn more, I will be showing more online. Perhaps she is going to sing in her sleep. These are from, this is handwritten from a math book, a handwritten math textbook from 1842. And this is a French holy card from 1911. It's a guardian angel, l'ange gardien. These carte de visite cards are photographs from around the 1880s. She's got a little doll. And more experiments with plaster and stencils and ink. This is a fragment from the back spine of an old dictionary from the 1880s. And it really finally fell apart, but the leather is so pretty. More angels. This is from a science magazine, again from the 1840s. More of that Venice plaster and stencils. And that's it. And that is it. Please check out the text box below this video. That's where you can find links to my online courses, as well as to my Ko-fi page, which is where you can help support this channel and its videos, and where you can find my online shop. If you have any questions or any feedback, please let me know in the comments below. let's compare notes. Until later, happy making.